Hello, everybody. Welcome once again for a short discussion on a poem. Today, we are discussing a short poem. This poem is from Sri Lanka. This is Lepidoptera by Richard Zoysa. Let me share the screen and take you to the poem. I hope you can see the screen now. Lepidoptera by Richard Zoysa. I think it's my duty to talk about the poet or Richard Zoysa before I discuss the poem. Let me give a very short account on Richard. Richard was very famous in Sri Lanka as a journalist. He was also famous as human rights activist. Of course, he appeared on various channels as a newsreader. He was born on March 18, 1958. Unfortunately, he was assassinated on 18 February 1990. In Sri Lanka, 1989, 1990, 1991 were very bad years. Why do I say bad years? These were the years of socio-political troubles in the country. Especially, there was this JVP insurrection during this period. However, the people like Richard Zoysa were valuable to our country, and their contribution to English language, literature, teaching, also acting were remarkable. Anyhow, unfortunately, this valuable man was killed. Up to now, we don't know who killed him. His mother, Dr. Manorani Sarvanamuttu, was also a famous person in Sri Lanka. She tried very hard to find out the killer, the murderer of her sons. But until 2005, she could not find the murderer. She also died in the year 2005. Richard also acted in films. For example, Yugante, Virage, I can name as some important films. He, of course, was associating closely people like Professor Rajiv Vijayasinghe, Dr. Chana Kamaratunga, and many other political leaders of the country. Especially, he was a close associate of Professor Rajiv Vijayasinghe. Professor Rajiv later on wrote a novel based on his life, and this novel is named as Limits of Love. The people who would like to read about Richard, I think if you read this novel, you can learn more about Richard and also the socio-political situation of this country at that time. Let me take you to the poem now. I am not going to give you a very long description about Richard. Though I can't do it here because my focus is on the poem rather than the poet. Lepidoptera was written by Richard Zoysa. However, he writes the name Angela de Silva, which means He's using a pseudonym, a pen name. So in books, you come across Lepidoptera by the name Angela de Silva. However, it was a beautiful, a kind of very meaningful poem that is connected to education system of this country. Let me read the first stanza. On broken butterfly wing, your crippled mind fluttered into my schoolroom, failed and died. I couldn't do a thing to stir its organs of poor maimed sense to life again. This is how Richard puts his experience on his teaching career. He was also teaching English language, and he was acting also in stage dramas. Personally, I also had a kind of chance to participate his drama workshops. In this poem, anyhow, he's taking a sustained metaphor of a butterfly. Of course, when you say Lepidoptera, this is a scientific name to the insects coming under the category of butterflies. So the word Lepidoptera is a scientific name, in short, for butterfly. In other words, not only butterflies, there are other insects coming under same category. We scientifically name them as Lepidoptera. He takes this metaphor of a butterfly to describe his idea, his thought, his main theme in the poem. We at once see a school child and a teacher. We see these images in the first stanza itself. When he says, on broken butterfly wing, your crippled mind fluttered into my schoolroom. That means he takes the role of a teacher. And beautifully he writes, failed and died. Ladies and gentlemen, look at these sentences. One word sentence, failed and died. This tells about education of some people in our country. Some poor students who are not properly guided, who are not properly coached, who are not properly educated, molded, they fail in the education. And he uses the word failed, and it's one word sentence, and died. I couldn't do a thing to stir its organs. He once again takes our attention to the butterfly, stir its organs, poor maimed, sends to life again. He thinks he as a teacher could not help this child who came to the classroom, who came to his schoolroom. He could not help as a teacher. As teachers, we know sometimes we can't help all the teachers, all the students, all the people who come into your classes. You sometimes understand, you feel you should help, but you can't help. There are many reasons for this. He's talking about these reasons in the poem. Let us continue and discuss. Let's go to the next stanza. Only sensation reflect twitch of feelers and for me sentiment. You see, the poet is sentimental. He feels sorry about the boy or girl, the child who came to his class because he could not help the person. And he notices as a child, this person has only sensation, innocent sensation as a child. Only he uses reflex, twitch of feelers. I hope you know the feelers when you take a butterfly. The two antenna-like things, organs, either side of the butterfly's head, they are called feelers. If the butterfly is living, it moves these feelers. Then you know it's not dead. He says only sensation and for me sentiment. For me, of course, it's a big sentimental value. It's a big sentiment for me because he cannot help. Occasional small rupture at your velvet softness and smoothness. He is also having an idea about the person, the child, because child is so innocent. Velvet softness and smoothness are words suggesting the innocence of the child. Soon the ants of time carry you away from chalk and Chaucer into oblivion. Now he has a teacher. He further takes a name of a poet, Chaucer, and he mixes it with chalk and Chaucer to suggest teacher. We know chalk is very much associated with teaching profession, and he being the poet and the teacher, he tells very soon, ants of time, the ants will take the butterfly away, carry you away from chalk and Chaucer into oblivion. Of course, that is what has happened to many students who are not properly guided, properly looked after by the education system. They come to education system and they get lost. By the time they get lost, somebody will take the child away from the teacher. Maybe it's a society, maybe it's his friends, maybe businessmen and women, maybe outsiders take this innocent child for their advantage, and that is the end of the child. That is what is, I think, this is my analysis, I think is the message that he tries to convey here. Soon the answer time carry you away from chalk and Chaucer into oblivion. Oblivion is status that you can't see, you can't trace out when you say oblivion. We'll go to the next stanza. Farewell, lovely, the heavy-footed state which made a mess of your fragility. Call this progress, should pin you down on cardboard behind glass, specimen of education class. He ends the poem like this, saying farewell, lovely, to the child. He remains as a teacher. He knows the reason. He cannot help the child as a teacher, not because of his problem, not because of child's problem, not because a child's parents. He uses a term heavy-footed state, which made a mess. State, government, and he uses heavy-footed state to talk about the government. Government is moving very slowly, especially education. Education of Sri Lanka is very clearly outdated, according to him. And also government doesn't want to develop it. And government doesn't want to develop children, correct children, educate these children. They only consider progress, numbers-based progress. And he says about cardboard behind glass. This is actually an image of a notice board. When you go to educational offices, principal's offices, you see on the walls notice boards. Number of students appeared for GCE O level, number pass. Number of students appeared for advanced level commerce, arts, mathematics, medicine, and the number pass. And they have these figures, and usually they call it progress. But actually he uses very harsh comment, very strong comment. They played out of your fragility. State which made a mess of your fragility. You are so innocent, fragile, breakable. You are very often vulnerable to the society, to adults, to teachers, to education department, to the government. You are very highly vulnerable. They actually played out of your fragility. And they are, at the end, they call it as a progress. And he suggests something. Should pin you down on cardboard behind glass. Actually, if they want to show the real progress, if they really want to show the progress of education, they should pin you down. Probably here, the image of a butterfly, or maybe the broken wings of butterfly, or we can say a broken butterfly should be pinned to the notice board, and that will show the real progress according to him. And that is a harsh comment, satirical comment. He is laughing at the mistakes basically done by the government. Should pin you down on cardboard behind glass. Specimen. You know the meaning of specimen. That is a symbol of educated class. And we are talking about very high of educated class. Actually speaking, are we really helping the real needy students of this country? Is a question. He is satirically asking this question from us. And he proposes, actually, if you want to talk about progress, you have to show the poor students, needy student should be developed. And then, of course, we can call it a proper education. He ends the poem with a kind of harsh comment And we can see his disturbed mind in the way the lines are arranged, and also the meaning that he tries to convey by attacking the government. Should pin you down on cardboard behind glass, specimen of education class. That's how he ends the poem. Ladies and gentlemen, think about it. Especially in Sri Lanka, we as teachers, we know very well that we cannot help all the students. The problem is not the teachers. Problem is not with the students. Problem is not with the parents. The problem is actually in the system. That's why many people propose Sri Lanka needs a system change. Even with regard to education, I propose in my discussion based on this poem, there should be a clear system change in the education system also. Still we have these people, similar students. Thousands of similar students are there in the school system. So government should take serious steps to help these people. Then the teachers can support the government. Parents can support the government. Other well-wishers can support the government. The problem is, the mess, as he says, the mess is done by the heavy-footed state. As he calls it is heavy-footed state. The state is very slow. When you say heavy, if you have heavy foot, you can't walk past. You are very slow. You are very slow in decision making. You are very slow in development. You are very slow in taking prompt decisions about education. So he says, heavy-footed state which has made a mess out of the innocence of these kids, these children, but they ultimately call this progress. He's actually laughing at it. Let me, ladies and gentlemen, go back to the beginning of the poem and read it for you. Then you will get a kind of a precise meaning. Read with meaning. On broken butterfly wing, your crippled mind fluttered into my schoolroom, failed and died. I couldn't do a thing to stir its organs, poor maimed, sense to life again. Lepidoptera, that's by Richard Zoysa, that's how he begins. Let me continue. Only sensation reflect twitch of feelers and foamy sentiment. Occasional small rapture at your velvet softness and smoothness. Soon the answer time carry you away from chalk and chosa into oblivion. Farewell, lovely, the heavy-footed state which made a mess of your fragility. Call this progress, should pin you down on cardboard behind glass, specimen of education class. That's how Richard ends the poem. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just a simple explanation, description given by me. That's my own interpretation. You are free to interpret the poem as you wish. Maybe you have other ideas. Please add, read and add your own ideas. And I welcome all kinds of other analysis, interpretations, ideas given by my readers, given by my followers. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good day.